just before you set up Spa Connectors, you
Mm,
basically said that you had noticed gaps in the market, which is what led
mm,
you to. Is there anything you want to
yeah,
add there? Because you've covered a lot of it, but is
yeah.
there any
Um,
particular gaps that you wanted to talk about?
well, so part of the reason why I set up Spark Connectors was
Yes.
because I saw that there was a big gap in having great therapists.
Got it.
Actually, there was a gap full stop in therapists. The numbers at the time of when I was leaving Minor was, I think they needed about 450,000 therapists globally. That was stats that came from the Global Wellness Institute. And I just knew from Minor alone, we had 65 properties,
Yeah.
and I would have to, at quarterly review, I would have to comment on all the properties, and we would record turnaway revenue. So for every property, we would be recording where we lost revenue because we didn't have enough therapists,
Got it.
and it would be
That was
my
a theme.
fault. Yeah, it would be mostly my fault that there weren't therapists, and it definitely wasn't my fault, though I had some responsibility to try and make sure we had enough. But GMs would freeze the hiring,
Correct.
or the process of recruitment would be so long, and it would only be a 30-day notice period, but we knew it was going to take 3 months to find a new one. So it'd be like, well, hang on, we've got some gaps here. Why are we not fixing this?
Correct.
So I mean, honestly, it was years of just being beaten up in these meetings about, why is this happening? And so I came up with our business model,
Yes.
which was, it's nothing, it's not revolutionary by any means.
Yes.
It's what a couple of other groups like Mandara, etc., would do. They were very much around taking people, training them up on the ground, and then sending them out to their properties.
Sure.
So what I wanted to do for Minor was, it was very much around finding places with talent. So whether it was Indonesia, Thailand, India, wherever it was, and having these hubs, partnering with existing training schools, so we didn't have to set up our own, but having a place where we would source the people. They'd be trained up in that school. They'd be trained up on the protocols with our group, because within our group we had all of the protocols that were our signature experiences. So we could be training them ready, and it was guest service journeys as well. It was the brand values, etc., of the business, and they would be there for a couple of months depending on the level of experience they had. We would polish them up. Something we do with Spark Connectors is we have our X Factor training, which is our soft skill training, and it's all about changing mindset, emotional intelligence, effective communication, getting them ready to go overseas, getting them ready to be able to work in a different environment. How can they best engage and contribute to a business? How can they make as much money as possible? How can they have ambition? How can they be the best versions of themselves? All of that. But my thought process was, create this for Minor, have a pipeline of therapists always ready to go, and they can start generating revenue as soon as they get onto the property.
Perfect.
And the way that it worked was that they were all very keen for me to do it.
Correct.
But I had to convince each property to spend money and budget for each individual person that would come on property, and that's where I got stuck. Because each property had to pay like $1,000 for a person, which is nothing.
Of course.
But they didn't want to do that. And so it got to the point where I'd probably spent the last few years, and these GMs that I work with, they still call me for business, etc. So whilst they probably got annoyed with me nagging them all the time, they could probably see some sense in what I was saying.
Absolutely.
They didn't love what I was suggesting at the time, and I just gave up arguing. I was like, what, I can't push this any further. So I decided to start it myself, and I also, part of being with Minor and being such an entrepreneurial environment, if you have an entrepreneurial bone in your body, like, you can't stay being employed. Like, and I actually said this to Bill Heineke when I was leaving, because he wasn't very happy with me. I just said, like, you've given me this amazing, but like, you can't be upset.
Yes.
because you've made me into this person.
Correct.
And I think you'd almost be disappointed if I just
You'd have to be
stayed
proud of what you created.
Yeah,
of course.
yeah, exactly. So so I started it because I then saw that it wasn't obviously just Minor that had the problem with turnaway therapists. I mean, within the Middle East properties, we lost close to 500,000 US in 1 year.
Just because you didn't have enough bodies.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah, but and so it wasn't just us, but whilst my business model needs to be automated, it's also a challenge to convince properties to spend money on recruitment. It's really interesting, and it's probably a bit controversial for me to say, but I've got a really good relationship with a lot of people in the industry, but it's really interesting that spa managers and directors and so forth don't want to spend money on recruitment of therapists. They'd rather do it themselves, but they're quite happy to utilize us when they need a job, or when the time has come for their heads to be on the chopping block, and they require a new job. And our businesses are not going to be sustained if that happens, and it's really sad. I mean, I just saw another one of my industry colleagues close her recruitment business a few weeks ago, and I have to say that there's really no one that has hung around longer than probably a year and a half in terms of recruitment, because it's a horrible game, and people don't value it, and it's challenging, and I would like the industry to really value it a little bit more, and not just use these cheap agents out in wherever who make the staff pay for their jobs, and it's as close to human trafficking as possible.
It is, yeah.
You don't know what on earth's going on out there, but it's not fair to charge these people for jobs.
Different cultures, different systems. To break that will be near impossible. In my 30s, I had set up a recruitment company with in the hairdressing business in the UK, and literally went out, interviewed the best people for the best jobs, and eventually gave up because the value of that was not appreciated.
No, totally. It's so hard.
Years.
Yeah.
So, and I am very old, just in case you're wondering.
You don't look it.
To end this conversation, I will say to you, any advice on how we attract Gen Z into our industry, one as customers and two as workers, coming in to do the jobs that we need them to do, but to thrive in them. How do we do that?
Look, I think it's a very good question, and I could answer that and talk about it for hours, because it's something that is important to my business as well, because we're out there trying to attract people and recruit people into the industry. We are dealing with a generation that would rather be on their phone and not have physical contact with people. They don't want, or they want to be super famous without having to do much work.
Right.
Not to be rude, but if they could be a famous makeup artist from doing some posts, etc., then great. That's when they'll touch people and be creative and so forth.
So, Kathryn, I need to interrupt that, because let's say that's the case, and let's say that they hit that brick wall eventually where there's no earning coming from it, because reality will eventually bite. So at that moment, how do we attract that Gen Z person?
Well, no, but will it? Like we said, we just think, are they going to make money from it? We just don't know. Like, it's surprising me more and more the way that the world's going in terms of online and where they can be making cash.
Right.
It's very interesting. You look at the Amazons where these makeup artists are recommending skincare or makeup, and people are buying it from their site, and they're making enough money to get by, and they don't have to leave their house, right? But what I'm saying is we have to think outside the box.
Yes.
And how do we make why could someone not be a famous acupuncturist? Why could someone not be a massage therapist that is unbelievable and has a profile as similar to Huda Beauty, who was a makeup artist online? Why do we have to have people working 5 days a week, 9 till 7? Why are we not looking at rosters where we start to help these people that are from this generation, because they don't want to work the hours that we used to work.
Correct.
And instead of us sitting there and just moaning about it,
sure,
like they're not going to change just because we're telling them to. We've got to start to understand their mindset and go, okay, hang on. They all want to be freelancers. So we know this, and we know that now that the tech platforms, point of sale, they're all working towards being able to help mobilize these people. So how does that then help our existing standalone businesses, whether it's spas or whatever? Okay, maybe they have to start partnering with these freelancers. And instead of hiring them as under these award wages or whatever it is, they start doing collaborations. And then part of these collaborations is then giving them the exposure they need through social media. And then they start to get their followers. And then you do collaborations with products. And then they make their money from kickbacks on here, there, and everywhere. It's thinking outside the box. It's not, no one wants to be in a treatment room doing waxing, cleaning up crap.
Well, without getting
like the old days
for it. I get it. I get it completely.
They're not like that. They're not willing to put in those hard yards anymore to then see this exciting career of working abroad, which, look, some might be. I'm also seeing that, why are we not looking at people that are, say, at a stage in their life where they want a career change?
Correct.
Why aren't we approaching them to bring them into the industry? There's so many corporates that go to being yoga instructors.
Yes.
Why are we not looking at these people to say, hey, why don't you become a Reiki person or a massage person, or be a specialist alternative practitioner or something like this? But look, we're so stuck in doing things the way that we've always done it
for years. Yes.
But we never change, and then we just wonder why it doesn't work. And we're not going to get anywhere if we keep doing it the same way, and not, you're only accredited. You can only get a visa here if you've got an international accreditation. That's SIBTAC or SEDESCO or whatever. Whilst they're great, some of them are quite outdated. Yes. And they don't actually apply to what people want anymore.
Got it.
So when are we going to start to be like, okay, hang on, our industry has changed.
But the generation is changing. The future is changing. And we're going to have to, I have to say to you, that's the best answer yet for Gen Z attraction. So what remains to be said now is, thank you so much for joining me today. You have made my week. And I have to tell you, okay. I know that spa owners, salon owners, barbershop owners are going to thank you for this conversation. Thank you so much for what you shared with us.
Thank you for having me. Thank you. I'm so grateful that you want to hear from me. So I appreciate it. Thank you.
Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to this channel, hit the notification bell, and you'll get to see every conversation with every expert.